In a small town nestled between rolling hills, there was a little girl with hair like spun gold and a heart full of kindness. Her name was Nora, and she woke every morning before the sun to help her grandmother in their little bakery. The bakery was warm and inviting, just like the two women who owned it. The smell of sweet yeast and cinnamon hung in the air, mingling with the sound of the old oven being lit. One day, while kneading dough, Grandma Alara told Nora a story about their special bread. "Every loaf we bake has a touch of magic in it," she said, her eyes twinkling. "Our bread makes people dream of the thing they long for the most." Nora's eyes widened. "Really?" she asked, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Grandma Alara nodded, smiling. "When the bread is fresh out of the oven and still glowing, its magic is at its strongest. If a weary traveler eats our bread, they will dream of a warm hearth and a cozy bed. A sick child will dream of frolicking in a field of flowers, and a lonely old man will dream of a simpler time when he wasn't alone." As the days turned into weeks, Nora listened to countless stories about the magical effects of their bread. She couldn't wait to see its magic for herself. So one evening, after helping her grandmother bake a fresh loaf, Nora decided to stay late and watch the townspeople eat the bread. An explorer who had traveled to far-off lands sat on a stool by the oven. As he ate, he closed his eyes and made a wish to fly. When he opened them, he was soaring through the clouds, riding a giant eagle. He laughed with joy as the wind ruffled his hair. Next, a famous painter sat down. She savored the bread. She wished to see colors that no human eye had ever seen before. When she ate the glowing bread, she saw the world in hues of shimmering rainbow and vibrant nebula. She gasped in awe, scribbling furiously in her notepad. Then a lonely boy approached the counter. He had been shunned by the other children for his strange and unusual appearance. He sat quietly eating the bread and closed his eyes as he wished for a friend. And when he opened them, there was a little girl with fiery red hair sitting beside him. She smiled and held out her hand. "Hi, I'm Nora," she said. The boy's face lit up with joy as he took her hand and ran outside to play with her. Watching this, Nora's heart swelled with happiness. One night after closing the bakery, Nora couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned in her bed, thinking about the magical bread. She had seen firsthand how the bread could make people's dreams come true. But what if she ate some herself? Would she get to see something amazing in her dreams? The thought was too much for her to resist, so she got out of bed, crept downstairs, and snuck a piece of bread from the oven. It was still warm and smelled like heaven. She closed her eyes and bit into it. The moment the bread touched her tongue, it sent a jolt of energy through her body. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, making her feel brave and excited. Then she went back to bed, snuggled under her blankets, and closed her eyes. She dreamed that she was flying through a huge sky. There were puffy white clouds below her, and the wind was ruffling her hair. Looking around, she saw dozens of bakeries floating in the sky. Each bakery had a glowing golden swirl in its window, just like the bread they baked. And she saw many children flying around with trays of glowing bread in their hands. Some were throwing the bread to birds, while others were feeding it to fish. She flew around. She heard a gentle voice saying, "Your kindness feeds the world." Startled, Nora looked around but couldn't see anyone. "Who said that?" she called out, but there was no reply. Suddenly, a little girl with a familiar fiery red hair appeared beside her. "Hello," she said with a warm smile. "You have a kind heart, Nora." Startled, Nora asked, "How do you know my name?" The little girl replied, "I know many things. Are helping people with your kindness, aren't you?" Nora nodded, confused. The little girl continued, "Don't you remember? You gave bread to everyone in your town, and they were all so grateful." Nora's mind raced, trying to understand what the girl was saying. Then she remembered eating the bread that glowed with golden light. Could this dream be real? Was she really helping people with her actions? The little girl reached out her hand and said, "Come, I want to show you something." Holding hands, they flew toward a bakery with a glowing golden swirl in its window. As they approached, the swirl grew brighter and brighter, until it formed a swirling portal. "What's behind that portal?" Nora asked curiously. "That's where you will find the answer to your question," the little girl replied, winking. Then she let go of Nora's hand and disappeared into the portal. Feeling a sudden surge of bravery, Nora stepped through the portal and found herself in a place of swirling colors and soft light. In front of her was a beautiful garden filled with flowers that glowed with an inner light. The petals were soft and silky to the touch, and the stems shimmered with 1,000 colors. As she walked deeper into the garden, Nora heard a soft voice. "You are worthy, Nora." She turned around, but there was no one there. Confused, she looked down at her hands and saw that they were glowing with the same soft light as the flowers. Suddenly, everything around her started to fade away. She found herself falling through a tunnel of swirling colors and light. Then she woke up. Groaning, she sat up in her bed. Blinking away the sleep, she looked around her room, which seemed dimmer than usual. Getting out of bed, she walked over to the window and saw the first rays of sunlight peeking over the horizon. It was going to be a beautiful day. Suddenly, she noticed something strange. On the windowsill was a piece of paper with neat handwriting. "Dear Nora," it read, "thank you for the wonderful dream last night. Eating your bread made me realize how truly blessed I am. You have no idea how much joy you brought into my life. With love, Emily." Nora's eyes widened in surprise. She knew that Emily was the little girl who had appeared in her dream. But how could Emily have written this note if she had only appeared in Nora's dream? Confused, Nora looked down at her hands. They were glowing with a soft, warm light, just like they had in her dream. Wow. A wide smile spread across her face as she realized that her dream had come true. She had helped Emily, just like she had done for everyone else in town. Overjoyed, she ran downstairs to find her grandmother. "Grandma, look!" she shouted, waving the note in the air. "I helped someone with my baking." Seeing the note, Grandma Ilar's eyes twinkled with pride. "That's the magic of our bakery, Nora," she said softly. "We bake more than just bread. We bake dreams and memories." Hugging her grandmother, Nora felt a surge of happiness. She couldn't wait to bake more bread and bring joy to everyone in town. And so, every night after closing the bakery, Nora and her grandmother would make fresh loaves of bread, each one filled with a little bit of magic. The townspeople loved the bread, not only for its delicious taste, but also for the magical dreams it made them have. And every morning, Nora would wake up with a smile on her face, ready to help her grandmother and make the world a little bit sweeter. The end.